I'm gonna get do dessert you. Welcome to Study Hall. It's Johnny Slivers here at Cackling Carnarium. This is EDH Study Hall, where we go and look at the internet, and I point my eyeballs at literally every magic card in the history of the game, and it will be years and years on years before we get to the end. Mark Rosewater will be retired by the time I finish this project, but that's fine. That's fine. This is for the archives. That's it. So we're going to continue our trek through the limited edition beta, picking up where we left off. This last episode, we left off on Lightning Bolt. Very exciting card to leave off on. And we're picking up with Living Lands. Ugh. Like I said with Cormus Bell, this is a high-risk card in terms of EDH, turning all of your lands, put a vitality... What? Living Artifact. No, not Living Lands. We'll get there. Living Artifact. That's different. Reading the card explains the cards, kids. Just read your cards. Okay. This is a 1 green casting cost for an enchant artifact. You put a vitality counter on Living Artifact for each damage dealt to you. During your upkeep, remove a vitality counter. To gain 1 life, remove only 1 vitality counter during each of your upkeeps. So this is a weird card. This is like an anti-damage card. Kind of like it's funky. It's kind of funky. It could be you pop this onto a silly card that nobody's really looking to destroy, let's say a Jeweled Amulet, if you're playing EDH. And then you're always kind of like grinding out this life gain as the game goes on. Not that it's really going to... I mean, if you're playing metas where it's coming down to the wire and it's literally coming down to just a few points of damage, this could make a difference. But again, as we look through all these cards, we're going to find a lot of cards where it's like, yeah, that's nice, but there's a lot of other things I'd rather be doing with that mana. So that's kind of the situation here. Neat idea, neat concept, kind of turn your artifacts into this little buffer, but again, better things to do with your mana. So going back into the list here, that was Living Artifact. Here we are with Living Lands, and again, reiterating my statement on Cormus Bell, all forests are 1/1 creatures that are still lands. So this is a high-risk card if you're counting on making your forest creatures. Anybody pulls a Wrath of God while this enchantment's in play, and as an enchantment, it costs 3 and 1 green mana. The risk being you get blown out. If you're playing Vorn Flex and this is in your deck, you have to worry about that Wrath effect, and that will end your game. That you'll be done. On the other hand, if you know you're dealing with a lot of people who are playing forests, and you want to wreck their face or put this in play and then put a Wrath spell on the stack there, then it could be, you reverse engineer that. You can kind of turn that into a weapon. But again, this one's cheeky, but I wouldn't put this in an EDH deck. Not personally. I would advise against it myself. Moving on to Living Wall and its nightmarish artwork. Good God. Okay, so the big thing back when I played in the 90s, this was a fun wall because it could regenerate itself, and that was the thing. Counts as a wall, pay 1, regenerate. It was an 0/6 for 4 mana, and it's a wall, so it's kind of dumb unless you're playing Arcades the Strategist, and even then, there's better walls, ultimately. I think the thing that when we were playing this back in the 90s, like me and my friends, this was just like, this artwork was... God, man, the baby and this is creepy. The artwork on Living Wall was straight up creepy. So if you just want to gross your opponents out, then yeah, put this in your deck. But again, nope. Wouldn't play it. All right, off to Llanowar Elves. Absolutely play this card, and if you happen to have a beta or alpha version, bonus points to you. Ultimately, this card is a cheap card. It does not cost that much in any of the other expansions. Some of the promos, you got WPN Gateway promo for going around $7. Unlimited's going for... Even if you get your hands on the unlimited is like the art. You can tell it's unlimited. Usually, the color saturation is what gives it away. But anything running green, these aren't bad to have. If you're playing elves, you definitely have a copy of these with elves along with your elvish mystics. This is definitely this is good stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty specific. It gets pretty specific. There are other better mana dorks out there. Ultimately, that'll give you more variety, more options with what they can produce. But just straight up ramping green, nothing. It's not a bad card. You can take it or leave it. I think it's a good card, worth having in EDH. And but you know what? Let's check some stats on that. Lower elves. It's got to get some EDH love. I want to see those numbers. So let's go. Oh, where did my EDH rec go? Let's go pull that up. EDH rec. So I'm just curious. I want to see like what they're reporting for the actual card analysis and how many decks it's showing up in. Now we're elves. Clickety click. 26,443 decks. Totally acceptable. 20% of the meta is playing these. I mean, it's just straight easy ramp. 1 mana, you got it. It's there. The only thing better would be 1 mana bringing a land into play and actually ramping your lands. But let's just get back into this. All right, so after Llanowar Elves, we have Lord of Atlantis, OG Merfolk Lord. This goes in all the Merfolk decks. Whether it's Legacy, Modern, or EDH, you put these in. It's all Merfolk, gain Island Walk, relevant. A lot of people play blue. Somebody's going to have an island. They love those dual lands, especially when they're like the shock lands. So you want to have an ability to do some island walk, and if all Merfolk are now unblockable, dang, that's pretty sweet. That's the catfish's meow. That's right. I went there. Bad puns. I'm working on dad jokes there. This saw many reprintings up to 7th edition. Let's see. It didn't get past 7th, so that means it never made it into Modern. That's why all the other lords are relevant. And yeah, lots of different artworks in there. It is not that some versions got up there. Dang, look at that. Times foil. That's shiny and pretty. Unlimited. Yeah, so it's a 2/2 for 2 blue. It's got bear stats and it buffs the team, and that's pretty sweet. If you're in Merfolk, you're playing Lord of Atlantis, and it is totally a card to add into the 99. So we go on to Lord of the Pit. Not so flashy as a Lord. Multiple reprintings throughout the years. So a 10th edition, it was a big deal up until 5th edition. It was always in the core set, and then found its way not in the core set. And let's see, we've got a reprint in Iconic Masters, and that's some pretty sweet art. So now I'm talking about the little history here. Let's go into the casting cost. You've got 4 and 3 black for a creature demon. It's a 7/7 with flying and trample. Decent stats. Kind of on the vanilla scale, it's okay. The drawback is at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature other than Lord of the Pit. If you can't, Lord of the Pit deals 7 damage to you. Now, the big deal with this one, that the thing that makes it better than something like, I think, Force of Nature. I think that was Force of Nature had the drawback. I think it got tapped out. Something got tapped out. Force of Nature. I just want to double check. Force of Nature, trample at the beginning of your upkeep. Force of Nature deals 8 damage to you unless you pay 8. I'm trying to remember. There was something where if you didn't pay the upkeep, it did damage to you and then it tapped down. Oh, that's right. It was Demonic Hordes. Okay, so Demonic Hordes was the one I think that ended up tapping down and had that detriment. And like in the original core sets, you had a couple big beaters like that. So yeah, going back here, Lord of the Pit. The flying and trample makes it a stronger body. Being a sacrifice outlet for an aristocrat's deck is good. The downside on it is the fact that it costs so much to cast. However, you are in black, so if you've got a means to put it in the graveyard, you just animate dead, and you've got this reanimation little target that's totally worth bringing out. It's cheap because it's not in the highest demand. It's got enough reprintings to bring that price down, and it's that drawback, like being hit for 7 damage on a 7/7. That's a liability altogether. Just because if they, like, say, do a medium kind of board wipe where they just kill small creatures, you've got this left. You take the 7 damage and they just do removal on it. Then you've taken 7 and you've gotten no benefit out of it. So that's why the price is so low. Interesting card for a demon deck. It could maybe working Aristocrats deck, I would advise caution before running it in your EDH deck unless you got the cool beta version. And even then, that's a risk. So that's Lord of the Pit. Going on to Lure. Lure, one of the original combo board wipes for green. Lure shows up in a whole bunch of sets. It's here in Kamigawa, made it to 8th edition. It's showed up in 2012. So Lure is a 1 and 2 green for enchant creature. All creatures able to block enchanted creature must do so. They like to put this on Thicket Basilisk. We'll get to that in a little while. And the combo being Thicket Basilisk wording was such that it didn't have to do damage, it just needed to be blocked. So Lure would have all of your opponent's creatures block Thicket Basilisk, and there it is. I think we talked about this with Cockatrice and why Basilisk was better than Cockatrice for this purpose. It's kind of like you probably could get some kudos and original flavor points if you were to run that kind of combo in your deck. It is not going to surprise anybody. If someone sees a Thicket Basilisk in an EDH deck, they can probably expect to see something like Lure. So it's not going to like catch anyone by surprise. But if you're in green and you're looking for an extra board wipe of some kind or targeted board wipe where you only want to take out one opponent's board creatures, and that this could be some like this is like a 23rd pick like for a draft. It's not going to be. You will find better things to do with that much mana, but it's there. It's a backup plan if you want a backup plan. So let's see. After Lure, checking times here. Okay, we're gonna be wrapping up in a little bit. Magical Hack. This one. Change change text to target permanent or spell by replacing all instances of one basic land type with another. Burn it with fire. Maybe not as bad as the laces, but Magical Hack kind of like when people still had land walk as a strategy, this had relevance and it now does not. So yeah, Magical Hack, it's nah. No, that's a dud for EDH. I would say big bad no. Mahatma Jin. This was the other big bad from the core set for like the rival to Shivan Dragon. Like people got all cool, like ooh wah about Shivan Dragon, but Mahatma Jin could eat Shivan Dragon any day of the week. The Shivan Dragon could not always kill the Mahatma Jin. So this is a 4 and 2 blue for a summon Jin with flying, lots of wall of flavor text. It's a 5/6. It is just a beefy flyer. It would eat Sarah Angels. It could take out Shivan Dragons. It was kind of like that was it. It had power to it, and like people would get on the other ones quick. But when someone was pulling off Mahatma Jin in the original deck in the 90s, like yeah, this had power. This was something to be dealt with. Lots of better cards for this price, and there's just I don't see this being. Unless you're playing like a Jin, a free tribal deck, even then, there's better things to get for that. So it's vanilla beater, but I wouldn't get to, yeah. You know what? And Mana Barbs, let's see. 2 more. Mana Barbs, Mana Flair. Let's get up to there. All right, so Mana Barbs. This is great for a punishment deck. It's 3 and a red for an enchantment. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, Mana Barbs deals 1 damage to that player. This is a fantastic card. You play to your outs with this card. You definitely have to have a strategy planning for this card, but it puts a lot of people on a tough clock. When this card is in play, it will wreck someone's face. It will also probably turn you into a target very, very fast. So if you're playing this card in EDH, be sure you're playing a fast deck, the deck that's going to wrap the game up in a hurry. That's the play. That's how you got to do it. Let's go check some EDH specs on it. I think this one will probably see some decent numbers. Because I think Zozu the Punisher is a deck that would probably play something like Mana Barbs. Mana Barbs. There we go. And the numbers are, yep, nominal. It's a small percentage, but it's nothing like just a couple hundred, roughly a little over 2,000 decks showing numbers for Mana Barbs. Again, very specific deck type. You're not going to throw this in every single deck. You want either a deck that's going to play life gain and get around the damage, or something that's counting on that damage and using that to muscle through more damage like a Zozu the Punisher deck. That is the mana barbs, and let's get on to the next step. Would be mana flare. Mana flare is getting there, getting there. Mana flare was super fun way back. Whoa, and now we don't have it past 5th edition. Now, Mana Flare has had different versions of it printed. It is an enchantment for 2 and a red. Whenever any player taps a land for mana, it produces 1 additional mana of the same type. Now, this is like a party favor for the whole table. It ramps everything. Things move fast. When you've got Mana Flare in play, you need to have a plan, because what happens, you're going to basically double everyone's mana before you actually get the proper value out of this. And unless you're playing it late in the game where you can garner that value as well as play this card. You don't want, if you play this turn 3 and you advance everyone's turn state to turn 6 and 7, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. And the only reason they might not kill you is because they might want this to stick around a little bit longer so they can set up their board state. So the drawback on Mana Flare is the fact that you are playing, you're setting yourself behind if you're not being careful with how you play this card. If you do play this card, make sure you have a plan to either lock down your table, put people in a position like Mana Flare is great if you're playing some form of stacks where you're able to tap down their lands, or you time it out where you play Winter Orb and this after everybody has tapped their lands out for something, and then you sacrifice your Winter Orb to something that can kill an artifact and get some value out of this. But that's a lot of hoops to jump through to get the maximum value out of this card. I remember playing games of, there's a format called Emperor, and I don't know, for all you young folk out there, back in 1995, 94-ish, that time frame, it was the Wild West. Most games were casual, and people would everybody wanted to play at the same table. So I played at it was an Emperor game with 10 people, 5 on each side, and you had to have an Emperor in the middle, and only the people on the end could actually attack through the opponents on the other side. It was a funky format, and Mana Flares just sped things up like crazy. It was hilarious. It was a hilarious format. I don't think. I don't know. I feel like this. I'm gonna, if I had to put money on it, I'd say Mana Flare has weaker numbers than Mana Barbs. We're gonna find out. It's about the same. All right. So Mana Flare comes in under 2,000 decks reporting that they are playing the card. 1,966 decks currently on EDH Rec, and it's kind of it's about the same. I'm not surprised. I mean, I would have expected to be lower, but this doesn't surprise me. The Mana Flare, yeah, the risk is the drawback if you play it too early without a battle plan to get around that detriment. And there it is. So we're going to wrap up with Mana Flare. It's going to be a short one tonight. Again, hope you like this. If you have any questions, comments, go ahead, leave a comment in the comment section below, or you can hit me up on Twitter at Johnny Slivers. And that's that. I will leave it at that, and I will talk to you all later. I hope you're having a great day. Until next time, may your top decks be epic.